Welcome. Greetings, everybody. SOT Homework Assignment, Episode 2. A long time episode, long waiting. This whole program used to be really popular during the COVID spell, and we had a lot more time to get some of our staff, but this is back, and we're on the second program. And my name's Rick LaBonte, and my buddy here, Jim Bacchi from California. He's an SOT member for a long time. We haven't seen him in a while, so it's long overdue. And when I had an opportunity to hook up with my buddy, who I met at the Sea Tranquility Fall Fest back in what, 2023, 24, 24, 23, I think it's 23, yes. So anyway, we've been pals since then, and we have exchanged a lot along the way. But this is a homework assignment. So Jim knows what I like. I kind of know what he liked, but we want to find something that none of us ever heard. And that is the object of the game, right? And so I was picking his brain because me and him have a love for all kinds of rock, metal, power pop, the classic rock, you name it. But I wanted him to show him that the 21st century music, like his own band, Fuzz Bubble and others, do still write songs that sounds like the blast of the past. Got one foot in the past, but one foot in the modern times, right? And so I was thinking about that when I'm going to give something to Jim. I said, I'm going to give you two bands. Have you heard of this band? Either Cats in Space or Night Flight Orchestra, which I thought they were in the same vein, same kind of vibe. And he said, I've heard Cats in Space, but I never really heard an album. I never heard. I just know that it's been, got some airtime here on SOT, but he never went down that rabbit hole. So I gave him a choice because I wanted him to know that Kickstart the Sun, which is a longer record, probably a double album by vinyl standards, was my gateway, and so was Pete. And we became an instant, the curiosity got the best of us that we had to go deep in that rabbit hole or the cat's hole and come out the cat in space. And so I mentioned this album too. Too Many Gods is the very first one. And if you want to go start with the beginning. So what did Jim do? Knowing that we have only a few days to pull this off, we had about 4 or 5 listens each. And so he decided to go with the shortest album, which I don't blame him. Cats in Space, Too Many Gods, 2015. So, what do you think?
Well, I like it a lot. It's funny, the type of music they're doing, I had heard of them. The type of music that they do, almost like by the time 1990 came around, it was so uncool to do this type of music. Uncool by the public opinion and the music industry standards. It's like it's in that zone of 75 to 1975 to 1982 album oriented rock, AOR rock.
Agreed.
And Styx and Boston and Journey and Head East. And it has all of that in there, super melodic, but with rock guitars, lots of vocal harmonies, keyboard, synth. So all of that stuff, by the time the 90s came around and Nirvana and all that, became the uncoolest thing in the world. And then I think somewhere between 2000 2010, it started to have a resurgence. It's sort of like in a lot of ways, guilty pleasure. A lot of films started using it, for comedic. I saw one film where the one, whoever the main character was, his song was Come Sail Away. So it was like they used it for comedic effect. And of course, we all kind of thought it was funny, but it became like a guilty pleasure. And then by the time 2010, 2015, it's now known as dad rock, right? So everybody our age or between 45 and or 40, maybe 50 and how old I am, which is 62. It became dad rock. So and it's like, oh God, dad rock. I cannot say I listen to dad rock. I mean, I saw Styx on the Grand Illusion tour in '77. I saw them on the Pieces of Eight tour in '78. Um, and I listened to, I listened to Styx. I listened to Journey. I saw Journey in 1981, right after their live album came out.
Mm-hmm.
I like, I bought Escape and listened. That was my first year of college, my first and only year of college. I remember listening to Escape all the time. So this sort of melodic, super melodic, but rock was very appealing to me at the time. And then I got into, the new wave of British heavy metal kind of came in and got me into heavier things. But I obviously, I always like pop, and I
Mm-hmm.
grew up with the Beatles, and so unfortunately, this type of music became really quote uncool by the time the '90s came around. So I love the fact that these guys just are completely unapologetic about what they do. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
guess enough time has passed where it's like it's 40 years retro at this point, right? At least 45 years. So people, they're probably these. I don't know how old these guys are. They seems to me like they're in there maybe in the 40s or 50s. I don't know. I don't know how old they are, but they fully embrace all that stuff that people eventually thought was cheesy, but was actually very good. So, like, my first, I'll always say on my list of top 10 perfect, absolutely perfect records is the first Boston album. So, I have a real affliction for this type of music. Uh, so I love the fact that they took all of those eras, and and again they've rolled in, some yacht rock flavor, some
Mm-hmm.
like some Styx flavor,
Agreed.
Boston flavor, and there is a lot of I don't know if they deny it or not, but there is some definite Jellyfish influence on this record. My
couldn't
two
argue with
favorite.
that. But then what Jellyfish been inspired by? By the
Yeah,
same band they're like in too. There's a lot of that. No doubt, no question about that.
yeah. I mean,
Overall, did you have some favorite tunes out of there that really stood
yeah.
out?
I went down song by song. So my two
Okay,
favorite.
cool.
Um, well, I'll go down from the top
Yeah,
to the
sure,
bottom.
go ahead.
Um, Too Many Gods and Stop. Uh, I have very Sticks. It's got that progressive. What Kerrang magazine back in the day in the early '80s, I used to read Kerrang religiously. They used to refer to this music as pomp, POMP.
Yes.
So it's very kind of pomp and circumstances, for lack of better word for it. Dennis DeYoung had a very Broadway kind of voice, and like there were bands like that came out at that time, like a band called Magnum came out in
Mm-hmm.
the wave of British heavy metal era, and they weren't heavy metal. They were like Sticks. They were
Yeah,
like
they were theatrical.
right, theatrical, very like much like Sticks in Kansas. So um, that's what I'm hearing there. And I don't know, where are these guys from? Are they from England or are they from Europe?
UK.
UK. Okay. Do you know how old the band guys are, or the writers, or the producers of who's ever in the band? Do you know how
Yeah,
old they
I
are?
do. I do. There had been some there is a changes, but there's like Greg Hart. There's quite a few guys here. I can look it up for you. I'll read it before we go,
Okay. Do
if you
they
like.
play live?
Yes, they do. I have a live album that just released. The album before the one that just the studio album. So probably about 2024.
Okay.
They
And
have
how
a double live
do they,
album. So yeah, it's
do they
cool to
play
watch.
six
They didn't
people?
tour much. They had to get, more songs under the belt and some funding, but they would do like key shows, but then they went on tour. And actually, I understand they plan on touring this year. So if they're not already are.
So what does their touring band consist of? Six. It's got to be six people at least. At
Oh,
least.
oh, okay. For that, yeah, I could tell you it's one, two, three, four, five, six people. Yes.
Yeah. That's exactly what I figured, because there's like 2 and 3 part guitar harmonies. There's like 4 and 5 part vocal harmonies, which is
Mm-hmm. Let
really
me look it
super
up.
refreshing to hear in this day and age, to bands to do this. Um, and
Yeah, okay, here they are. Greg Hart, who's pretty much the mastermind behind it, 6 12 string acoustic electric guitar, synthesizer vocal. Dean Howard, the guitar. Um, Stevie Bacon, drums and percussions. Jeff Brown, bass and vocals, Andy Stewart on piano synthesizer. And of course, they have a list of some extra guests. But Paul Manzi, I hope I say it right, is the lead vocalist of um, this particular spell of Cats in Space.
Okay. So,
But
all right. So
so
I was
while
just
you do
curious,
this, I'll show the cover. Keep on talking, pal.
right. I was just curious if they do play live. So, because I'll say it's like Kansas or Sticks. You got to have at least 5 people to make this much sound. You know what I mean? Live.
And there's 6 of them right
Yeah,
here.
there it is. I figured it had to be 6 piece band to play this live. But so I'm looking at the songs here. So Too Many Gods and Stop, uh, both have that Sticks very, it's like it's funny, it's retro, but I'm so glad they didn't go with like gated reverbs and try and make it sound like it's from the 80s because that would have ruined it completely. They just went very natural sounding. Um, so it has that late 70s before the 80s got overproduced. It has that kind of sound. So
The
like
only
those two
difference is that it has modern lyrics. The word stop is about people getting tuned to the phone and not interaction
right,
no more. So they're talking about relevant things using the music from the
yeah,
past as a template, if you will.
right. Um, so yeah, like those first 2 songs, they're very much in the Sticks vein for me, and I dug it. Without the Broadway Dennis DeYoung style vocal, which I liked as a when I was younger, but it didn't age well for me. It was just too dramatic. Um,
Hmm.
but the next 2 songs are my 2 absolute favorites: "Last Man Standing" and "Mr. Heartache," and you could really hear the Jellyfish influence. And there's like certain parts where it's just like, oh my God, that is totally something Jellyfish would do. The only difference is they got more hard rock guitar, and Jellyfish would have made it more keyboard oriented and Vox type jangly guitar instead.
Yes, or yeah, more acoustic bass or
Yeah.
vocally a little bit.
I mean,
But
this
yeah, you're
spot,
right. It's
this
one of my
spot,
favorites too, just so you know.
yeah, like Mr. Heartache, that chorus is just such a Jellyfish chorus. Um, and there's like these backups in the bridge and all this. It's like, whoa, that's like if they told you they never heard of Jellyfish, I would think they'd be lying. But because it's so you could hear the influence. As
Yeah.
someone who's been really influenced by Jellyfish, I could tell the little things that they're doing there. Um, like this last man standing, right? Like the outro of that song it sounds just like it doesn't sound just like it, but you can tell it's very stylistically like there's a song called The Ghost at Number One on Spilt Milk, which
Yeah.
has the same sort of outro and all these great vocals and all this cool stuff. So those are my 2 favorite songs for that reason alone, because I just like
Yep.
if it was just a little less hard rock, like I could see Jellyfish, but they would give it a total different treatment. It would be more, Wurlitzer and less guitar driven, but the vocal arrangements and all that stuff. So I was like, wow, that's pretty damn cool.
I agree. I agree.
So those are my 2 favorites. And then when I get to the rest of them, um, next song, Unfinished Symphony, really reminds me of like a Don't Look Back or a Third Stage type Boston song. The vocalist sounds kind of like Brad Delp at times. The harmony guitars, uh, and that really cool spacey kind of mellow bridge in the middle of it. It's all kind of vocal and keyboard, and
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're
then
talking
it goes
about.
to an Elton John like piano break, and then back into the song. So you could hear the Elton John influence too with the piano player. He plays a lot like Elton. So there's all of this, like I said, 74, 75 to 82 kind of thing going on.
I
Um,
agree with you.
so that's a neat song. And then the end, I laughed at this. I said, they really clinched the Boston deal by putting the flanger on the entire mix at the end of the song.
Oh
It's
yeah, that little tail end there.
such a
Yeah.
don't look back thing. Like, oh God, they flanged the entire mix. Like that is such a Boston thing. And look, man, you'll
Like
never.
you said, they're unapologetic about it. They're saying we're the blast of the past, and they mean it.
Well, it's funny because yeah, but it's not just one band. Like they bring in the Boston thing, and then there's a Supertramp element, and then there's this Jellyfish Beetle element, and
And
all of
before you know it, it's really catching space because none of those guys have all of them in one album, right? So that's
yeah,
how they actually become original band by taking some of those unique and adding it into the one big melting pot. It's a great stew, if you will, of all
right.
those things that you just drive. And you know what? Every time you brought up an example, I hear exactly what you're talking about. I
Yeah,
know what
it's
part you're
funny.
talking about in the song. So,
Yeah.
well, continue, my friend.
Um, yeah, it's just funny. It's like there's nothing like groundbreaking and new, but I don't know if anybody can do that anymore anyway. But like you said, when they combine all of these different things that don't normally wouldn't normally go together, it gives them a very unique sound, and they don't it's funny because music like this, like a lot of this, like back in the day, a lot of these bands that were like mid 70s kind of hard rock bands put this commercial sheen into their music to get hit songs. That was the motivation, was to get a hit single.
Exactly. Airplay.
And these guys don't really, it doesn't matter. So like they'll take that sound, but like the greatest story never told. That's the next one. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Schoolyard Fantasy. I have them mixed up here. Um,
Yeah, you just didn't talk about that one yet. That's all.
yeah, I didn't talk about that one yet. So like, I'll get to greatest story never told. But Schoolyard
Sure, no
Fantasy.
problem.
It's got the 12 string kind of Tommy Shaw, was a part of Supertramp. They have a saxophone in there, which really makes
Yep.
it like Supertramp. And then they got this like kind of Boston guitar harmony thing. Like I said, they mix all these things up. And like so far, I mean, there's not a bad song on this record. So, and some like get crazy like that one, really cool. Like I said, it has that Boston, but then there's the Supertramp thing, and it's neat. Like 12-string
Yes.
guitar and the harmonies. Um, but this next one, the greatest story never told, uh, starts out on piano, right? Then the second verse switches to like a Rhodes piano, so like a regular piano. Then they switch to a Rhodes piano, which I thought was a really interesting choice. It's like usually get with one and stick with it. They're just like, okay, the first verse we're doing on a regular piano, the second verse we're doing on electric piano. It's like, okay, so the song changes there. When it kicks in, it kind of kicks into like a late 70s like Styx type of kind of driving thing.
Yes.
And and then there's like a little bit of yacht rock kind of style thrown in there, real
It
pop.
especially with the stereo piano, electric piano, you get that yacht
Yeah,
rock
and then in
vibe.
the middle, they go to this like almost like a Gary Wright Dreamweaver type of thing, where it's like
Yep.
listen to the Dreamweaver or the one that came out, the Something of Light. Uh, both of those sound like that Dreamweaver album, so it's got this kind of Dreamweaver thing, and then it goes into this Run Like the Wind thing with congas. So it sounds like Christopher Cross. It's like the song is a mini epic. I think it's 7 minutes long.
That's exactly it. 6:54. Right on.
So it's like a 7 minute, sounds like a five different hit songs on the radio kind of
Exactly.
one song, and then it outros with a back and forth guitar solo like Hotel California. Just like, what is going on here? I just really was like, wow, these guys just took it's like a kitchen sink approach, but it's so cool because it changes gears so many times, but without sounding like it's really throwing you off. It just kind of flows. It's very interesting how they did it. I guess 7 minutes sounds like three different hit single type songs,
Back to
but
back.
back to back. Yeah, so very interesting. Um, so that I thought was really cool. The song "Only in Vegas." So this kind of has a yacht rock meets disco ELO when ELO did disco. So it's
Yes,
kind of
like China Light period, right? Or
right. Shine a light on my life like that.
yeah, China Light. Yeah, you got it.
But with the yacht rock, I also hear a lot throughout of another thing that reminds me of is like the Little River Band. Like Hang On, Help It's On Its Way. They have three, four, 3-part, 4-part vocal harmonies, guitar harmonies, all of that kind of, again, like people have different definitions of yacht rock. to me, yacht rock is Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins and a few others, and then everything else is just kind of um, peripheral or adjacent to yacht rock, because yacht rock
I
was really
agree.
soul and jazz more driven, and like Seals and Crofts to me isn't yacht rock; it's just soft AM rock, but
It's
people
soft rock.
call it that. So
But I mean, with the when you got Steely Dan and those kind of guys, they add those instruments, and then people use it, even America and that. But they're not necessarily yacht rock. They're kind
yeah,
of soft
rock is
rock, folk
light
rock. But they have
soul.
that spell where they go through that trend, and basically, that's what it is. It's an FM radio trend of the late '70s. Some people went, some songs of their album will go that way, and like this one, they made a song for that.
Right. Like real to me, the real what specific is to yacht is uh, what is specific to yacht rock to me is a soul element and a jazz element.
I
And
agree.
it's
The
like
R&B meets jazz all
right, the
together.
rock is very downplayed. It's more jazz and R&B.
It's just
So
that it happened to be by rock magicians that were famous from doing rock or doing a little bit of different music, at that
right,
time. I think
right.
that's where that territory, because they started out as rock and rollers, but, the music evolved.
Loggins and Messina way different than Kenny Loggins.
Absolutely.
You know, uh, Eagles way different than what's his name, Glenn Fry solo. You
Or,
know,
or, or even look at Steely Dan, Can't
Betsy
Buy a
Rogers
Thrill
versus
versus,
right.
Asia is different. Right on, my friend.
Change with the times. And that was a very jazzy period. So anyway, that song had a very yacht rock, and at first it's just like only in Vegas. It's kind of corny, but then you listen to it, but it's really good. you
Yes,
know,
it is.
it has a little bit of a cheese element, but uh, it's everything on here is so well done. You're just like, well, it's really well done. Like even if it's a little bit corny, it may have been done on purpose,
And I
but it
think they put it in the right spot in the rocket. You don't wouldn't want that two in the front because they'll take away all those wow factors. Now they can throw a song like that right about here anyhow, right? With
right.
that tempo and so forth. So, what do you think about the rest of the songs?
So the Man in the Moon I really like.
Cool tune, eh?
Very like a 70s AOR pop, almost reminds me of, but it's a much slower song, but like that song I Love You by Climax Blues Band sort of has
Mm-hmm.
that sort of vibe to it. Or a little bit of ELO again, but the harmonies, they got those jellyfish like tension harmonies that Jellyfish really did a lot of. So, and I love this. These great synthesizer flourishes in there, which I love the way they use synth, like full on 70s, like the Styx Grand Illusion type synths, like
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah,
kind of, I really dig that. So,
me
and those
too,
are
me too.
give it that space rock kind of vibe,
Right
but
on.
again, pop. Um, and then okay, so we got a couple songs left here. 5 Minute Celebrity. I love that. This is kind of a more of a rock song. Again, really, you could hear a little Brad Delp in there, and a lot of Boston in there. It's like I love that. It's like they got like it's just straight up rock and roll type of
I
thing,
agree.
and that's cool. And yeah, there's a like as soon as the verse kicks in, it's like, oh, it sounds like Won't Get Fooled Again, because there's a melody thing that's very similar to Won't Get Fooled Again in the verse. And even the guitar,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
got
yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
that's and then they change it, but it's like,
Then they
no,
change it.
that's the Won't Get Fooled Again, melody. So, so again, there's that Who, kind of 70s Who type of vibe to it. And then so yeah, and Velvet Horizon is just a really nice kind of ballad at the end. I The thing I noticed about that song is the way the piano was recorded. It sounds like you're sitting like right in the room. I don't know how they did it. Obviously, it's got to be a real live piano and not like a sample in a room. It's you could just hear the room of the piano part. It's like, wow, it sounds like it's sitting right here in front of it, like a grand.
Yeah, the ambience is well captured, eh? Good mic placement, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so overall, man, I
If you had to give it a rating, like out of five, like Pete does, what would you give this?
I would give it a 4 or a 4.5 because the only things that's going to get a perfect 5 is like the first Boston album and a
I
handful
totally
of
understand where you
others that
are.
are perfect. It's not perfect, but it's like if I'm going to go 10, it's a 9, you know?
Right on. I appreciate that. Would you add it to your playlist or buy a copy of that?
Yeah, I've listened to it like 4 times, and that was funny because I know a couple people that would really like this. I'm going to send it to them.
Oh, right on.
They might know who it is. Like my singer from Hitman loves this type of stuff with the
Mm.
harmonies.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn him on to it because I think he'll really like it because he loves like like the latest Europe album. And
Mm-hmm.
like, have you heard the newer Europe stuff? It's like really good. I'm like, wow, that is pretty damn good. So it
It
kind of
is.
reminds
It
me of,
is.
of Europe also, like 80s Europe. Again, they never go to 80s. It's just that kind of like 1979 hard rock AOR, not overproduced, not with the gated reverbs and the ridiculous amount of reverb on everything. Like it's very natural sounding. I like that, but I love how unapologetic they are about like, yes, we're going to put 3 guitar harmonies and 4 vocal harmonies in this one part and not care. Just like we're going to throw synth. We're going to go into this like pop, kind of a yacht rock thing that sounds like Christopher Cross with congas. It's like stuff that you don't normally hear people do. They
And they
just said,
went the
we don't
and
care.
yeah, and they went to the extra mile, taking everything they love about
Yeah.
classic rock and throw it in. I like that kicking everything in the kitchen sink kind of example you gave. All right,
Yeah.
so it's my turn. Why don't you tell me how you thought, how do you came up with an album for me? And I explain everybody what I thought.
Yeah. So harder for me because I know like guys like you and Pete have heard pretty much everything. Like I play and write more music than I listen to music. I listened to most of my music when I was younger, so I'm I bought more records when I was younger. I'm a little more old school, and I'm like, me, I'm gonna give you something old, but I gotta
Hmm.
find something you haven't heard. And it's funny because they're Canadian, and I was like, have you heard of this band? And you like, no, and I'm like, wow, they're Canadian. I think they're
I
from
know.
not far from you. Um, but I bought this record when it came out in 1982 or three. I read about them in Kerrang, and they were 3 brothers. They were called Santers. The main guy is named Rick Santers, and it's kind of a hard rock with a little bit of AOR, but it's just like a straight hard rock. Lots of vocal harmonies, great guitar. And I was like, you know what? I think you would probably appreciate this record. And again, they're Canadian, so there you go.
Well, let me begin. And like you said, it's a 1982 called "Racing Time" album, and this would be their second record, as I learned.
Yeah.
And I got mixed emotions about this homework assignment. And let me begin by this. The first of all, I love the record. I love the album. That's the emotional part because one, I felt like why I'm not hearing this. And a little mixed up, like, this is a Toronto band, 4 hours for me. But then I do remember this came out when I was 12 years old. Okay, if they don't got a video, they might not have made it, right? And who knows what the record label was like or whatever. But the reality is that to me, I can picture when I put on that record, it brought me back like the days I would go to amusement park or find one of those video game halls where you go in there and play some games, and there'll be a jukebox kicking out some great tunes of the time. And what I mean is that some of this music, the way I heard like the late UFO of the late 70s UFO. I heard you Shooting Star in this band. I heard sonically even some babies, when you think of Here I Am Back on My Feet Again, that big sound of all the vocals and hard rock. I heard the Foreigner band in there. I heard that Foreigner attack, especially the way sonically. It was like a flashback, a little bit of Montrose guitar and some of this stuff. I thought it was like Rainbow with the Jolene Turner era, like a sneak peek what they could be like. They're ahead of these bands. A lot of this stuff. I thought some songs sounded like Gary Moore from the Future of the Future, Victim of the Future, which is a couple years later. So somebody been listening to this because some of these ideas I heard in other people's songs. But let me say this: it's a good singer, great guitar player, and I love the band the way they wrote the song. So let me dig in. But what is frustrating, though, I tell you this, because why would you introduce me something I'm gonna like if I have a hard time getting a copy myself?
Oh, you
That's the
couldn't get
mix
it?
emotional. So I went and looked, because believe me, I like it enough that I said, okay, where as I'm halfway through the album, I'm already looking. Where do I find it? Not available so kindly on Amazon or eBay. It's like a lot of money in some places. But I did find whether my 7 other sites that you would think I'd find it in Canada, being a Canadian band, but it wasn't. I got it from somebody in Europe. I'm not sure, but Europe, somebody I bought it and they're sending it. And it cost me like $65 Canadian to get the 35-minute CSTD.
Wait a second. You know, you could go find Rick Santos on Facebook and probably message him and say, "Can I buy a copy of your record?" Because I
Well,
used
I
to
didn't know that.
Facebook.
You know,
You know
you
what?
know what? It's probably right. I mean, he's a Canadian, and Canadians are generous that way. But no, I was, yeah. Either way, I had to get it, so I got it on my way. Just to be a couple weeks. But let me get into the tracking list. Let me tell you, it right off comes off a good start. In fact, the album opener reminds me like it could start a movie. You know how a movie starts when they're showing you the landscape, if they're hovering over the big
Yeah.
city, and then they go down to the traffic and they show people driving cars. It's a great introduction to a movie, the way I heard it. It sounded like some 80s hit. Mistreated Heart is the name of the song. And it reminded me of like something that came off the Victim of the Future album that's not even out. So they're not the victim. They were ahead of them. But it reminded me of that kind of attack, the chord sequences to kind of remind me of that. But I was impressed. Mystical Eyes, it would be the second. Great guitars. Love the guitar tones. And I just love it. Ear candy shit. Good arrangement. And it's just a simply good rock song. I would have roller skate to this kind of music back in the day, right? When we were back in the day, I was 12 and I would have my Walkman and I would be carrying either Foreigner tape or I would have had, April Wine or Triumph. This band would have been in that playlist. That's the kind of band this is. It
April
would have
Wine is a good comparison because they kind of have a little bit of an April Wine.
absolutely. That's why I'm telling you. I know exactly that. I mean, like, brother, I'm like, why I haven't heard it. Now, this is where I got 3 songs in. I swear this song sounds so familiar, I might have heard it. And that is Still I Am. So somewhere in my Canadian upbringing, I didn't know who the band is, but that song, when I heard it, didn't feel like I heard that for the first time. Now, sometimes songs are so well written, you think it's already famous already. I must have heard it. But that song kind of near the way it opened with the acoustic thing and the way the intro, I remember this. So I wouldn't be surprised they had some Canadian airwave play. I just didn't know the name of the band at the time. That happens a lot in FM radio. They'll play a whole hour of shit and then list it. Oh, we just played Santana 707, blah, 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 and all that. And if you're not paying attention to that, you missed out that band. It took me years. I used to take tape recorder and tape my radio station because we had some great ones. 101 FM, home of rock and roll, or we had 98.7 Detroit radio, WLLZ. We love Led Zeppelin. No, it's gonna be a great a radio station. And I would tape stuff and I have to go back and who is that band? Oh, that's Head East. Or who is that band? All I ever wanted. Oh, that's Santana. Santana, the Black Magic Woman Santana? Yeah. Music was amazing in the late 70s. And the bands were like putting up more pop, like you say, A&R album, oriented album. A definite arena rock. They thought of the big production when they're doing the studio. They're not just writing as a song. They're writing to take it on the road, man. And that's the way it's done. And the way the chord sequences, it felt like you're watching a concert because it opens strong and it ends strong. So anyway, Dog Without a Home, a great song, great guitar tone. I love it so much. Reminds me a little bit of that beefy Montreux vibe from the first album, but I love the guitar riff, man. To me, and here's the thing: the vocalist is awesome, and he is really good. But you don't notice him so because he's so surrounded by such brilliant guitar arrangement and good music that he's great. And normally that voice would be a star of any band. But there's so many wow factors to listen to that he's not the only superpower of this band, and which he's got a great voice. Road to Morocco, great vocal again, one of my favorite actually. But I love the arrangement of this song. As a songwriter like you and me, you can't help do that. We're like the kind of people that when you write songs or produce songs and enough, that it's hard for you to listen as a listener without trying to think it as an engineer, right? And it's just like if you're one of those guys that do sci-fi effect, you're watching a movie and you lost the story because you concentrate and thinking, how did he do that? He must have used a shadow and a light. You're examining, you're trying to brainstorm how they pulled it off that you can start missing the song. So that's why I'm glad I had 4 or 5 listens because I went in that headspace and I said, no, I want you to listen to the music and take it like an audience. So anyway, I did that, and I gotta say, man, I really love that nice guitar solo at the tail end. It's really good. It's such a great song.
No, it's got the
Uh,
it's got the license chord in it.
yeah.
It's got the F sharp Alex license chord in it. So
Oh,
it
big time.
makes it sound like Rush.
Big time. No doubt. I hear what you're saying. And then
Yeah,
there's what's that? Two Against the World.
yeah,
Again, it reminded me of the baby back on my feet again. That kind of sound, that sonic attack. It's a different song, but it's like you would believe that that was on the same record as that one. That's how close they are. And
right.
the riff they had, I'm like, I heard that riff before, and it's theirs. But there's a band called Tragically Hip later in the late 80s, early 90s, all the way up to the time of his death. He put out an album called Fully Completely on 1992, and they have a tune called no, 50 Mission Cap. It's about, hockey cards and stuff like that, and this guy put it in his cap. But the riff, I'm like, that's where you guys got that from. And then guess what? They're not far from Toronto, so I wouldn't
They
be
probably
surprised
still
if they heard.
playing guitars.
Yeah,
They
they
probably
probably heard it. They probably heard it, and there's no question. And they're older than me, so they would, but not been 12 when they heard that band. Um, Backstreet, melodic pop rock song. It's just like the way you describe Vegas. It's a perfect spot for the song in this album, where to put it. I think it's, they put all that top heavy stuff at the front. Make sure that if we didn't impress you by now, nothing else would. So by then, they're just closing the record, and they got Backstreet, which is really cool. Winter Freeze is really wild with the winter wind sound effect in the beginning. Love those keyboards. It reminds me exactly the keyboard that you're impressed with, Cat in Space. It
yeah,
had that 80s sound. It reminds me of Angel a little bit. It had that keyboard that kind of reminds me of, like in the beginning of Lover Boy, Turn Me Loose. It just had that sound in there. And
right.
so it wasn't surprising to me to
Another
find out it was
Canadian.
an 82. It's so 82. That's what it is. A
Yeah.
Hard Time Loving You. Why is that not a big hit? Not, why wasn't that a video staple at that time? Because it's catchy as hell. It should have been a hit. It's a rocking tune, and it really it's up there like feel like the first time. It's up there like as far as a well written crafted rocker, and you
They
want to make sure you
have a
had all the
foreigner
melodic.
vibe to them. They
Pardon
they
me?
definitely remind me a lot of Foreigner. He reminds me a
Me
lot of
too.
yeah.
That's the first band I put up on there. And then the next one came to mind was Shooting Star from
Yep.
the second album, Hang On to Life or something like that. Something like that. I think of that song, Are You Gonna Be My Side, when I hear this record, and it's
Right.
really good. So overall, then it ends with the title track, Racing Time, which I think was an epic way of ending that record.
Yeah.
So
Super fast. Yeah.
yeah, like a grand finale ending, it was a good wrap up, and it was a good reason to call the album Wasting Time. Usually people have that title track at the very beginning of a side, but end up being the last song of the album, which is unique. And I gotta say, buddy, I give this a 4.5 out of 5 easily. I mean, I only heard it 4 or 5 listening, and I've already got the courses memorized, and stuff like that. I just couldn't wait to get my copy. So, like I said, it's bittersweet. Why did you do this to me, Jimmy? Bring me an album that I have a hard time
Oh, yeah.
finding. That's a tease. That's like having a taste, but you can't have a plate of it, you know? So, and you know me, I had to have a physical copy. So I end up, like I did find it, but man, what a shirt that was. But it was worth the energy. It was worth it. And
Yeah,
I did find the best
well,
version of, you know,
CD or vinyl? What'd you get?
CD. I had to go CD.
Well, I
That's my thing.
originally bought it. It was vinyl.
Yeah,
You know,
and there was vinyl available, but CDs was hard, and the remastered version was hard. Like they only
oh,
made so many, so
it's so weird. It's so funny. I turned my buddy who was in my first band with me in Long Island. He lives 15 minutes away from me now. Uh, I turned him onto that record. He goes, I got to tell you, I listen to this record all the time. And I can't for the life of me figure out. I mean, obviously, music business, but why that band didn't get any bigger than they were is beyond me. To me, it's like, a three-piece band from Canada, them versus Triumph. I think they hold up way better to me over this time than Triumph does.
wow. Do you have
Personally,
a copy of the album so we can show the folks?
I don't have it anymore. I had it back in the day, and I
Okay.
sold that record collection a long time ago.
Well,
Um,
I apologize to the listeners, the viewers, because I would have made sure you had show you a piece of it.
so we could show it to people.
Yeah, if
Uh,
you don't mind. But in the meantime, I want to tell you out there, if you heard of the album that we were talking about and you have an opinion, hopefully positive, we like to hear your comment down below.
yeah.
And we also want to remind you, don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget to check out our webpage at seatranquility.org. And before I get to the very end of all this stuff, giving them some time to look it up. I also want to remind you that Jimmy is a great songwriter, a good friend of mine, and I became a fan when I got this record called Fuzz Bubble here. Because Cult Stars from Mars even featured Mike Portnoy on one of the tunes, which is great. Blinded by the Light, that song, that cover. It's the only cover. And I gotta say, this album's so good, he didn't need this cover, but it doesn't hurt it, that's for sure. 10 great songs, and you should get it. And I got a shirt. And also, another band that he's a part of called Mac Boogie Overdrive. It's a stoner rock kind of music, and this is an album called Stone Again. And I would have the honor of playing harmonica on the fifth song called Bomb Incoming. So you should check that out, folks. You got anything else in the works in the meantime?
Well, here's the cover, right?
Okay, good. Let's see it.
Got the cover now. Come on. So
There it is.
it is called Santers, Santers. The album is called
Racing Time.
Time. I originally came out on Music for Nations when I bought it. They were a British label. And I don't even think they got a deal in Canada. I don't know what their Canadian label was, but Santers, and it's three brothers, and the lead guy was named Rick, and it was his two brothers. Um, so yeah, as far as what I'm doing, I'm doing
Yes.
another Yaki Orchestra record right now. I started a YouTube channel for anybody that's interested in my weird, mid-century lounge and exotica music. I talk a lot about that and some other stuff. It's mostly for my Tikiyaki Orchestra fan base that follow my YouTube channel, which is just go look up Tikiyaki Orchestra. We have our own channel. I'm doing a thing called Tikiyaki TV where I'm just kind of like Pete talking about records or different things, but so far it's been mostly just records so far. So I do that, and then everything else is just kind of, Max Boogie is kind of working on new material. We recorded some stuff, but we haven't gotten that far on it yet. And just the Tikiyaki Orchestra stuff, and that's about it. That's all I'm doing right now. So how about you, man? What are you doing?
Well, I got a lot on, like I'm recording for a new album, and this time it's going to be Rick LaBonte and the Band of Brothers. It's going to be a solid record. But the song that you and Lewis played on, you played the lead guitar and Lewis played the bass on a song called Hang On. I felt it was about people going through stressful times, and Lord knows there's a lot of stress going on out there. And so I wrote a song called Hang On, and I finally released it, and it had featured Derek Cheridian on keyboard. He did the Moog synthesizer, he put the B3 Hammond, he did Fender Rose on that tune. Yeah, he's just an amazing guy. Anyway, so with a little help from my friends, I got this song. I think I'm gonna release it in November to get it done for this year, and then the Banner Brother record that all this new material that I'm working on, aiming for 2026. And what date, I'm not sure yet, but we're getting close. We're halfway there.
And you know
Um,
what's
s-
after
yeah.
you put out your last record, you said, "I think this is the last full album I'm going to put out." And I was like, "No,
Well,
it's
Well, you know what? I didn't, with the trend of singles today, everybody just putting up. I still think what I do is I release and go, but I'm going to hold a handful of songs back for the album, though. That's what I decided. Ultimately, because people got an attention span of a minute, right? They don't, it's like, would they sit and listen to a whole album? Some people are just a song by song kind of playlist people, and so you got to take advantage of that market. So I'm a little bit of both.
let me
So
ask
it's
you
all
this.
good.
Let me ask you this. Did you press any vinyl of your record?
Of living it up, I have there was a couple that I have reserved, but I haven't got them. No, I can. It's all figured out. How the layout and everything, because
Right.
if you remember my record being a double album,
Yeah.
it had the lyric book and all that. So so I asked them to tell me what it'd be. So I did get a price, but I just never did it. I never did it. And
So
part
when
of
you
my
play,
bucket list, I should.
so when you play shows, do you sell merch at your shows?
Yes, I do. I sell shirts and my CDs, this album and my album before that, On the Mission. And then of course, we have posters too that we will sign and people will get that as well.
Because I mean,
And I throw guitar
buy
picks out
vinyl
there.
more than CDs now. You might be better off pressing vinyl than CDs.
Well, I'm gonna do both. I told the guys that I would do that for the next one. I mean, I'll step it up, no problem. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like I'm in the red. Everything I did was I made money from it. I'm not, so it's all good. It's all owned by us, and we don't have no bills to pay, but to move forward. So if that's not all, I'll just go and wrap this up for the viewers. I just want to say thank you for spending time with us. I just want to remind you, you can always get your merch cup t-shirts on the merch page. Check out the Ko-Fi page. Check out the Cameo page if you want Pete to do a video or a message for one of your family members or a fan. You can be a member. You know what it takes for all that time that Pete puts on. And we watch all these shows, and some of you are on the chat line religiously every day. Can you spare a cup of coffee a month or a half a beer? Because that's basically what Pete gets. And you become a member, it's just a couple bucks a month. And it helps that guy in a long way because he does a lot to promote artists like us and people out there, and he doesn't get a commission. All he gets is a little bit of a pat on the back. And I just say that's why I'm a member. I just knew that this guy did a lot of his own personal time, and you don't get that back. And a lot of family time is absent because he dedicated to putting some content on the channel. So if you can help him out, I appreciate that. Because he's on YouTube all the damn time. Until then, we'll see you next time. Jim and Rick, we want to wish you all well.
See you
Take
guys.
care, everybody. Good to see you, buddy.